Hi, this is Wayne Zell, host of Blueprint for Wealth, your fast-paced videocast that's designed to help you realize your personal dreams of wealth and freedom. And on this videocast, we always bring on special guests, entrepreneurs, and others who have great stories to tell. And my entrepreneur today is Mr. Matt Murray, who has got a great story. Welcome, Matt. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate that. I'm excited to chat with you guys today.
Thanks for being on the show. You're on the West Coast, right? You're in Southern California?
I am. I'm based just outside of Orange County. We call it the Inland Empire, but I'm in Corona area.
Corona. I've never been there, but I have drunk the beer many times. So, so we're going to talk about a few things. Matt's got a really interesting sort of childhood and teen years. He had to evolve through some very difficult times. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about his passion for fixing things because he just wrote a book, which also we're going to talk about, and it's available. Is it available on Amazon? I think I saw it on Amazon.
It is, yes. You can purchase the book on Amazon.
Yeah, and it's a great book, and it's really, I think it's inspired from his background. He'll tell us about that, and then he's going to tell us about his new venture into becoming the blue collar king and making everybody else a blue collar king. So, first thing, Matt, tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you grow up, and why was your upbringing so chaotic?
I grew up in Southern California. I'm born and raised in SoCal, and I come from multi-generation of blue collar families. My grandparents on both sides, they had tow truck companies and gas stations and junkyards. And my dad was a meat cutter. He worked at Lucky Stores, which is no longer around. And my mom was actually a checker at the grocery store. And that's how my parents met. So it was always kind of around that stuff. And I can remember being a little kid and the parents worked really hard. And my dad always had like a side job going on in the driveway. And I think my blue collar journey started when I was about 4 years old, sitting in the driveway. I can remember being in poopy diapers, handing my dad, wrenches out of the toolbox. So
wait a second. Wait a second. You can remember being in poopy diapers. That's something I can't remember, and I don't want to remember that. That's amazing. And
I think it's my love. I love this stuff.
That's pretty wild. So
yeah.
So what was he doing? Was he building stuff, fixing stuff? What was he doing?
Yeah, he always was turning wrenches and working on cars. It was a lot. I didn't learn what was going on until I got a little bit older. But like I said, I can remember always being out there as a little tiny kid, helping him do stuff in the garage. And I loved being out there with my dad, and I loved touching the tools and stuff. But he always had side jobs going on. So he would take people's cars and, fix head gaskets or water pumps, or he would buy broke down cars. And then he would fix them up and sell them to make a profit and make extra money. So that's kind of how all the blue collar wrench turning stuff started.
So what was chaotic about your life?
So there was a lot of good things going on. My parents worked really hard, and they did the best that they could. And we had a nice home and stuff, but there was a lot going on with alcohol in the family lineage, if you will. And what happened with my dad and alcohol, it can be something that gets progressively worse and kind of take over. So the
Yes.
Drinking started happening more and more and more, and my parents were fighting, and things were out of balance. I mean, we would go camping and have nice things, but then at home, at night during the week, dad was coming home late and he was coming home drunk, and then they were fighting. I would wake up in the middle of the night and hear all this chaos and commotion, and that kind of went on for a while. And it was just kind of a roller coaster of, fun, try to make it work, but then chaos with the parents fighting and the booze and all that stuff. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was an emotional roller coaster ride there for a while.
It must have been tough, and you probably wanted to get out of the house to just have to avoid all that stuff. You mentioned that you really started helping him fix things, at a really young age, or at least handing him stuff so he could fix things. When did you start acquiring this passion for fixing stuff, and particularly HVAC? I mean, I read your book, and in the book you talk about, I love to fix things, and I'm going, yes. I'd love to hire you to fix things because I don't like to fix things. I'm not very good at it.
I'm a builder fixer for sure. And I think it started very young. If I could besides love hanging out in the garage, probably like Legos and erector sets. And then when we would, go to the store, I would always ask for the electrical projects where you can do, work with wires and circuits and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
always loved that. And then later on in school, I signed up for auto shop and stuff like that. And I just loved everything to do with anything mechanical. I'm a very mathematical, analytical, mechanical kind of guy.
So mechanical, but also electrical, because the two are very different, but how they intertwine is really cool. And then in HVAC, you've got refrigeration stuff going on, and which
Correct.
I don't even begin to understand. My wife says the refrigerator's not working. Can you fix it? It's like, no, call somebody. Call Matt Murray, because I can't fix it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So that's what's really neat about HVAC. And I got into HVAC when I was 23 years old after I had moved out of the house when I was 17. I left the house, ran away to get away from all the chaos and craziness at home. And I went off and did different trades. I was a waiter at a restaurant. I did that for a little bit. And then I was like, okay, I don't like this. I worked on car stereo alarms and stuff, did some installs on stereos and car alarm systems. I'm like, okay, I love that a lot more.
Sure.
And then I was introduced to an HVAC, the industry, actually by a family friend. And I started looking into it, and I was like, wow, I really love the idea of this. It's got mechanical, it's got electrical, it's got all this other stuff, refrigeration properties and thermodynamics and chemicals and stuff. So I was really fascinated. So I took the job. And part of the job was that I would have to go to school. So I went to Cypress College. I did a trade school for 2 years, and then I had to do the apprenticeship program. So I did about 5 years of trade school, and I became a journeyman after about 5 years. And then the company, unfortunately, that I was working for, they got into some really big construction projects, and they ended up getting hurt really bad, and they had to file a bankruptcy. And in June of 2003, we all got called in, about 40 of us, and we all got laid off. I was put into doing a side job, not by design, but by default. We all got laid off, and I'm like, hey, I got to make some money here. So I kind of reached out and I got a residential side job. When I started in the HVAC trade, I started off in commercial industrial, but then my first side job was actually working for a residence. And then that was in 2003. And then that one side job turned into 2 and then 4 and then 8. And here I am 20 years later. I'm still on my summer side job with 40 employees, and our budget for next year is 12 million. So
wow, that's awesome. That's
fun little side job I've got going on here.
That's a heck of a side job. That's entrepreneurship is what that is. That's what that is. What's your exit plan? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I'm shooting for 3 years. I'm 48 years old now, and I have a 3-year rough draft plan. It's not fully mapped out, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm looking at possibly doing an ESOP to the employees, or maybe a partial ESOP to the leadership team. Sure. Or if the leaders that I'm working with now, my management team, if they're not interested, then I'll, hang a for sale sign on it. And maybe that's something you could help me out with.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'm an exit planning guy. So, but that's why I had to ask you. I have to ask every entrepreneur what's their exit plan, but it's good to hear that you have a plan, because a lot of these folks don't. So you wrote a book. What's the name of the book?
Yes, the name of the book is The Blue Collar King's Blueprint for Success.
Yeah, Blueprint for Success. That sounds eerily similar to Blueprint for Wealth.
Yes.
Whatever, you can have it. Blueprint for Success, The Blue Collar King. I love that. And you've got a website that talks about not only the book, but also all the ancillary services that you provide through that, which we'll get to in a second. Let me focus on the book for a second. I looked at the book. I read pieces of it. It's a very good book. And I just wrote a book this year, and it's hard to write a book, isn't it?
It is. When I started out, I think everyone loves the idea of writing a book, but then when you actually get down and start doing the work, it's like, okay, this is actually not that easy. So it took me almost the entire year to put the book together, but it was well worth it. I'm really glad it's done. I'm super excited. I'm proud of myself, and it came out really nice.
What was your intent when you wrote the book? What was your goal? Why
my goal is to help. Yeah, great question. So my goal, and that's kind of we could talk about, Blue Collar King and what that looks like. So I've been self-employed for 20 years, and the next season of my life is going to be helping others, not have so much chaos. Not only did I have chaos growing up, but I spent 20 years in my entrepreneurial journey in a lot of trial and error
Mm-hmm.
mode. It was a lot of, try this, do that, and winning, losing, roller coaster, rags, riches, a lot of,
I read that in your book. It was like, okay, I'll try this. It doesn't work. I'll try this. It doesn't work.
correct.
Sounds a lot
Yeah,
like me. I think that's what entrepreneurs do, though, isn't it?
for sure. I think we probably all have to do that until the pain gets to enough, you get it to enough pain and you're like, okay, I don't want to do it like this anymore. So my mission with writing the book is to help people. I've spent a lot of time learning, through trial and error and research and development with my own business. And in about 2016, 2017 is when I learned about this thing called personal development and learning and coaching and peer advisory boards and stuff like that. And so I started investing in myself after I got tired of burning, money to the ground and sleepless nights and everything that goes along with that. I started
Yep.
reaching out and looking for help.
Who did you look to? What resources did you use, or what did you look for when you were trying to get that help at that point in time?
So I was introduced to a group called Vistage. I don't know if you've heard of Vistage.
I just gave 3 speeches to Vistage groups in the last 3 days. So yes, I know
Beautiful.
Vistage. I'm a member of
Yeah.
Vistage. That's very cool.
Excellent.
Nice. It's a small
Yeah.
world. I didn't even know you were a part of it. That's great.
Yeah, so it started with Vistage. I'm no longer in Vistage, and I honestly don't remember how I got turned on to Vistage, if it was a referral or they marketed to me or what. But I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I got to try this. I have to try something. So my journey of learning and education and personal development started with Vistage.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
from there, where did you go?
So after several, months being in Vistage, there was a speaker and his name's Nicky Nemiroff. And he's been at the time, he'd been a peak performance executive coach for about 25 years, maybe 30 years. And long story short, I decided to hire him and get
Okay.
a personal coach. And that is when massive change started to happen. I hired Nicky and we did a 1-hour one-on-call weekly for, 5 years straight.
And that really turned your life around.
Absolutely. I mean, that was absolutely transformational. Having someone in my court that could guide me, help me, teach me some things about business and leadership and emotional intelligence and communication. And also like that, someone that will tell you the truth, that sees things you don't see, that will call you out on your BS and call you out on your blind spots and stuff like that. So
I think I need that. I
absolutely.
need somebody to kick me in the butt. Any
Yep.
event, other than my wife, because she always kicks me in the butt. But the book talks about the 4 pillars that you abide by: faith, family, fitness, and finance. And
Yes.
you try to explain that. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, how did you come to those 4 pillars,
Yeah.
and a little bit about each of them.
So I didn't learn this pillar system or this, this framework or model for life and business, if you will. I didn't invent this. I learned about it from others. I don't know who the original pioneer of that was, if it was Napoleon Hill or Ziegler or Rohn or Tony Robbins, right? But what I did is I learned the concepts at some point and I started practicing them years ago. So what I love about the framework is, for me, is it allows when you can see your life holistically, and if you can see it objectively, and if you can look at it as 4 pillars, faith, family, fitness, and finance. Once you have kind of a model or a measuring stick, if you will, on each of these pillars, it allows you to see things objectively, not emotionally, not subjectively. And you can kind of score yourself of where you're at. And then you can start to do things that move you in that direction. One of the biggest insights that I learned through my personal development journey and through using a framework like this, is that our lives are interconnected. So if you think of these 4 pillars like 4 legs of a table, you kind of need to keep all of these areas of your life in balance if you want to have happiness, success, abundance, whatever that looks like for you. And that's different
Sure.
for everyone. But I learned that they are interconnected. I also learned that most people have what I call a kryptonite pillar. They have one pillar that is their weakness. For me, it was fitness and health. For most of my life, I was overweight and had challenges with health. And I told myself a story and had a limiting belief that I was just not meant to be in shape and that I couldn't work out and such, so on. So that when I learned to overcome my weaknesses and what I call the kryptonite pillar, and I built more self-discipline and more grit in that particular pillar, it allowed me to have more potency and more power in all the other pillars. So when you're doing work in each of these pillars, you really lift yourself up holistically. If you can imagine, like I said, these pillars like holding up the table and results of your life.
I really like that metaphor. And I like the idea. I also read the part of the book where if any of those pillars are out of balance, it's like having a table that has, like you said, a
Yeah,
one leg shorter than the other three. Things are going to fall off the table. That your life is not going to be in balance.
correct.
And I find maybe it's something I need to be focusing on more in terms of balancing my life. But I thought it was really a great metaphor, and the idea of faith, family, fitness, particularly, and then
Yeah,
obviously finance. Some people get so inundated or so focused on making sure that their finances are better and better and better and making more and more money. You're going to lose
right.
something in translation in the other
Correct.
three pillars if you're not
Absolutely.
careful. And so it's
Yeah,
really good advice.
especially us as entrepreneurs, I think we chase hard on the finance pillar. We're searching for, of course, we want some financial abundance and success, but I believe ultimately everyone's searching for an emotion or a feeling. And we put a lot of energy on that finance pillar, chasing the next level, the next, the next sales, the size of the company or whatever, that next bar, break that barrier. Okay. Break this goal. You just win, 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 win. And for me, my kids are 12 and 11 now, and I spent the last 10 years chasing hard, putting all this energy on the finance pillar, and I missed out not only just having that balanced life and feeling good holistically, but I missed out on all those special moments and not filling up my cup in the other pillars as well. And I realized, wow, like I don't need more money. I don't need a bigger company to feel better. There's three other components of my life that I'm not doing any work in. And that's when I came to this realization. It was like, wow, it was a paradigm shift for sure.
And now tell us about Blue Collar King, the website, but also what you're doing with that and where you're headed with that.
So real quick, I just want to answer your question. Do I
Oh,
feel
sorry.
like it's yeah, no, for sure. So do I feel like it's perfectly balanced? No. Am I working on it? Yes. I also don't believe that there is a level of like mastery or perfection. I think this framework of life, if you will, I think it's a journey, and I think the more you can embrace the journey and let go of the destination and just make it a fun way of being, I think you'll find and have a lot more success with the framework.
Life is a journey, and it's the key
Yeah.
is don't forget that we need to enjoy that journey. We need
Right.
to embrace
Exactly.
it every day.
Yes.
Being present with our family, with our friends, with our
Yeah.
faith, with our business. We need to be
Everything.
present in it and enjoy it. I mean, it is a
Absolutely.
journey. If all you're looking at is what the end goal is, you're missing out on a whole lot of stuff. But that's
For
good
sure.
advice for all of us. So anyway, back to Blue Collar King. Tell us some
Hmm.
more about that.
Yeah. So what Blue Collar King is, and kind of talking more about my book too, and why I wrote the book. So my mission now that I've done the entrepreneur journey for 20 years, and that's not fully put on autopilot, but I have a management team and leadership team, and that's kind of running the business. And I started recently coaching. I operated with a context or framework in my own business as being a coach for my leadership team, rather than being the CEO or the owner or the boss. Like, I kind of shifted the way in which we operate and the way in which my team looks at me. So I don't even let them call me boss or the owner or anything. Like, I like them to call me like their own personal consultant or their own private coach. So I work within the framework of that in the core business. And then the Blue Collar King is my new brand. It's for coaching, and I want to give back to the industry. I want to help business owners scale and grow faster. I want to help collapse time for entrepreneurs and business owners in the blue collar service space. I believe that's the job of a coach. A coach should be in the business to help people collapse time. You shouldn't have to spend 20 years like I did doing it the hard way. For
Hmm.
sure, I learned a lot of invaluable lessons, and I want to give back. I want to take what I've learned in 20 years and give my tools and learning and help other people coach them and help them grow, not just their business, but learn how to apply the framework of the pillars.
How do you collapse time? I'd like to know how to do that myself.
Yeah.
I'm
So
very serious.
yeah, for sure. So if let me think of it like this. So again, back to my journey.
Yeah.
If I would have known about, a lot of the tools and systems and personal development stuff that I talk about in my book a decade ago, my journey of time, from A to B was let's just say 20 years. Had I have met someone 5 years into my journey, I know with utmost certainty that where I'm at 20 years in, I could have been at that destination probably in like 8 or 10 years if I would have had a coach that understood all these business systems and tactics, leadership, tactics, looking at
Hmm.
life holistically, explaining to me how working on my health and my mindset is going to have an impact on my relationships and my business. So that's the way I see collapsing time for others, is that as a coach, I should be able to go out and help people get to their destination faster. In other words, you can drive to New York, or you can jump on board with like the blue collar king in your business, and we can jump in the private jet and we can get to New York a lot quicker. So that's how we're collapsing time for people.
I like that. I like that. The coaching aspect of it, you had mentioned that you met this individual who was helping you with your coaching through Vistage.
Yep.
How would you recommend the entrepreneurs that you're counseling, if they're not being coached by you because your time is going to be limited too, how
Sure.
would you recommend that they find the coach that would be best suited for them? And how, who is best suited to coach
Yes.
you versus somebody else?
Yes. Yeah, it's an excellent question. And in the market right now, and everyone knows this, everyone's a coach, right? You turn on your social media, your email or whatever, and it's like, hire me, I'm a coach, I'm a coach, I'm a coach. It's very important, and it's an excellent question. I'm glad you asked it. If you're gonna seek coaching or seek advice or training, what I
Mhm.
recommend is that you do research on the coach that you're working with and ask them, what have they built? What have they created? What stripes have they earned, if you will? Did they just go take a business systems class and get a cute certificate and now they think they're an experienced coach?
Mhm.
Or have they been in your industry for 20 years? What have they done to actually get in the trenches and do the work and build something versus they think they're a coach and they're going to coach you? I also think it's important that you find a coach that you can resonate with and trust. Like, I think personalities need to line up, and you need to find a coach that's going to tell you the truth. You're going to have to, if you're going to go on a coaching journey, you have to get ready to have your feelings hurt, but you have to know that discomfort is the portal to expansion. So
Yes.
if
Oh, I
you're
love
looking
that.
for thank you.
Discomfort is the portal to expansion. I want to repeat that 100 times in my brain because what a great line. Did you create
Thank
that
you.
just now?
Yeah, I kind of just
Just kind of
right
just
off the cuff
created
right
it out
now.
of the
Yeah,
ether. I
it's
love it.
growing
Brilliant.
pain.
Brilliant. Well
Thank
done.
you. So without discomfort, growth is very minimal. You can expand over time at a very slow and long rate of speed, but if you want to grow quickly, you have to embrace the discomfort. It's growing pains. I don't call it growing pains because it feels good, but for me, I worked with a lot of different coaches, and the coaches that got me the best results are the ones that told me the absolute truth faster, sooner, of stuff that I needed to hear but didn't want to hear.
So would you recommend a personal coach over a peer-to-peer group like YPO or Vistage or something like that?
I wouldn't say one or the other. I think they're both amazing. I think Vistage or peer groups are probably a good way to find a coach that you could work with, find a coach that you can trust, a coach that has a proven track record. That's probably a better way to find a coach, would be through a peer advisory board like that, because they
Yeah.
have some type of reputation or credibility there in that space, rather than just going and searching online and Googling looking for a coach. If you are
Hmm.
going to do it that way, like I said, do your research. Like, ask them a lot of questions about their resume, their background, their specialties, their niche, and do those align with your business model and the problems that you're trying to overcome?
Wow. Well, that's such good advice. Do you have any other advice for the entrepreneurs that are listening to this program? Because there are a bunch that do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to reiterate, like if you're not getting the message about coaching, not that I'm trying to sell coaching or Wayne
Yeah.
is or whatever, it is the absolute best way to grow quickly with less pain and less chaos and less suffering. There's a lot of amazing companies out there that are putting together courses and training, and then there's these big summits and rah stuff. And all that stuff's fun and cool and it makes you feel good. And it's good to get away from the rat race and go hang out with other people.
But that's
But
not
if you're,
coaching.
that's not coaching.
Hmm.
But all these people call themselves coaches. They're not really coaches. They're putting together classes, and the classes help. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to knock all the guys, and I know people that put out a lot of courses.
Sure.
But you know what I mean?
I
But
do.
you're not going to move the needle sitting behind a computer watching hours and hours of courses every week. It's just not going to happen.
So having somebody hold you accountable, I think, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Having somebody
Accountability.
talk to you about your deepest thoughts and your dreams and your wishes, but also your fears, and
Yes.
identifying those fears and helping you overcome them. That's
Yes.
what you're talking about.
Yes. And another thing I'll say on that too is the right coach is going to be able to meet you where you're at. It's very important that if you're having some struggles or want to go to the next level, that
Yeah.
you get the right information and the right tools and tactics of things you need right now. You don't need the whole toolbox of everything that's available, aka all these courses.
Yeah.
That's just going to send you down a rabbit hole and confuse you. And a year from now, you're just going to be in the same spot and have more information that you don't know how to implement or execute. So
How
that's
would you
really
find the
important.
right coach?
How did I, or how would I?
How would you advise others to find the right coach?
In the groups like we talked about, join a peer advisory board or Joe, you can go online. You can get into online masterminds now. You can Google HVAC, coach or whatever, insurance or tax planning coaches or whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
I would network, talk to people and ask them who they're using. Do you have a referral? Do you know of a Facebook group I can get into? If you're a restaurant owner, jump into some different Facebook groups that are specific for restaurant owners and just ask people, hey, who knows a coach? Is there a coach in our industry that someone's used that has a good reputation, that's credible, reliable?
As the blue collar king, what do you seek in terms of people coming to you? What should the perfect person come to you for coaching? Are you seeking to expand your coaching experience and your population of mentees?
Yeah, I'm looking for people that are ready and hungry. So I want to work with people as a coach. I want to work with people that are ready to do the work. There's a lot of people that they think they want to do the work, but they're not actually ready to execute. They're looking for the magic pill,
Yeah.
and there is no magic pill. There are some magical tools and systems and tactics and stuff like that, but there's no magic pill that's going to let you bypass or take, this other shortcut route around doing some hard work. So for me, I like to specialize in blue collar. I like to specialize in service type businesses, and I want to work with people that are hungry and they're ready for the next level. They're not tire kickers like, I think I want to grow. I think I want to do the work. They're like ready to go right now. And they're like, okay, like coach, tap me in. I'm ready to go. What do I need to do? They need to be coachable and they need to be able to listen and do the work. That makes it fun as a coach when people are actually, willing to execute.
So how can they get in touch with you, Matt? How does a prospective mentee or somebody who wants to engage you in the Blue Collar King program, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you. The best way to do that is just to go to my website. It's www.bluecollarking.com. All the information about what I do is there. There's a link to my book, and you can also get into contact with me through my website.
So that's how I found the book, was going to your website. And also you can go on Amazon and type in Blue Collar King and it'll pop right up, and it's available for purchase right now. Right now.
Yes,
So
it
go
is. Buy
out
as
and buy
many
it.
copies as you like.
In fact, buy them in bulk, because that's
Yes.
the best way to do it. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
you don't want to miss that opportunity. Well, again, this has been inspirational to me.
Thank you.
It gets me thinking about where I'm headed, and I'm much older than you, but I never stop learning. I'm always learning new things, and by talking with you today, I've learned a whole lot of new stuff, and I'm very excited and very
Likewise.
happy to have met you today.
Yes, thank you.
And thanks for being on Blueprint for Wealth. And next time, we're going to have another special guest who's going to blow your socks off, just like Matt Murray. So stay tuned. We'll have another blue collar, not a blue collar for wealth. We're going to have a blueprint for wealth. I'm confused about what we're even talking about. We'll have a Blueprint for Wealth special guest for you next time. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Hi, this is Wayne Zell, and welcome to Blueprint for Wealth's educational moment. Today we're going to talk about when should you sell a piece of your company to a non-grantor trust. What's an installment sale of a company? How does it work? Well, in an installment sale, you could sell part or all of your business to a trust for the benefit of your spouse and family for a promissory note that bears interest only, with the principal amount becoming due at a specified maturity date in the future. Depending on the duration of the note, the IRS's applicable federal rate would determine the interest rate. And while the note may or may not be secured, it has to be enforceable under local law. What's an example of an installment sale involving a business? Well, one example may be where you're selling an appreciated business interest either to your kids or your heirs directly, or to a non-grantor trust established for the benefit of your children or heirs in a taxable installment sale. What's the advantage of selling to a non-grantor trust? Well, at least one advantage of selling to a non-grantor trust is that it allows you to lock in the capital gains at a fixed value while deferring the recognition of gain until payments are made under the promissory note. This strategy effectively transfers the appreciation in value to the trust beneficiaries. How is the tax handled for interest and principal payments that are received from the buyer? Well, interest that's received from the buyer is taxable at ordinary income rates, which can be as high as 37% federal. On the other hand, principal payments are subject to tax as long-term capital gains, which might include a return of capital, but only when the principal payments are actually received. What's the difference between using a grantor trust versus a non-grantor trust? If you sell the business interest to a grantor trust, which means that the income of the trust is taxable to you as the grantor, the sale is ignored for income tax purposes. In other words, the trust doesn't pay income tax, you do. So you're treated as if you're selling the interest to yourself. But in a non-grantor trust, which is treated as a separate taxpayer, the note will allow you to defer income tax until the installment of interest and principal payments are received. One main exception to this rule is when the buyer is related to the seller and sells the assets within 2 years of the original purchase. In that case, the gain will be accelerated. If you want to know more about sales to non-grantor trusts, grantor trusts, or trusts in general, contact us at zelllaw.com. And if you want to read more about some of these techniques, you should check out my book, Your Multi-Million-Dollar Exit, which is available on Amazon as well as at waynezell.com.